Hey there guys, it's Anthony here from Cutting Edge Guitar, and in today's video we will be continuing my series on how to solo better on the guitar with a look at how to use pentatonic scales creatively. Let's get right into it. Okay guys, just a real quick recap for you. This current series of videos that I'm doing is all about how to help you get better at guitar soloing. So what we've looked at first and foremost was the guitar solo journey, how you go about building a better solo in terms of like the rhythmic structure and where you are on the neck, building it up, that sort of thing. Then we've just looked recently at creative ways of using, or effective ways of using full scales, and then in the previous lesson I talked to you about something called the hexatonic approach, okay, which is probably not quite so familiar to every guitar player out there, but what we're going to talk about today is a pentatonic approach. Now most guitar players are very familiar with the minor pentatonic scale. What I want to talk to you about today is some really creative ways that you can use pentatonic forms, okay? So first things first, I use a system that I call the scale pyramid. Now this is not something that I have particularly invented, so to speak, but it is a way that I have made sense of some very complex theoretical concepts, especially if you're a rock guitar player. Trying to use jazz kind of harmonic concepts can be really difficult, basically because you don't come from that background, you're not familiar with the language of a different type of music. It's very difficult to understand what they're doing sometimes. And now for me, what I wanted with my music, I'm really interested in fusion. I love rock guitar, I love rock guitar technique, but I also am really interested in jazz harmony. And what I really wanted to do was always fuse those two styles together, like a lot of players have. For example, on the wall up there, over in the back corner of my room, I've got a picture of Guthrie Govan up there. He was one of the first guys that kind of influenced me with this. Now, something that is very prevalent in guitar world. Let's say if I'm playing over a minor 11 chord. I've done that sort of thing so far in the series, so I might as well stick with that chord for the moment. And we're thinking about using A Dorian as a bass scale that we can extract our ideas from. Most guitar players out there watching this video will probably be very comfortable with the minor pentatonic scale. I just added a little bit of a flat 5 in there to give me a bluesy effect. Most guitar players are comfortable with that sort of thing as well. If you're a complete beginner and you're not totally comfortable with all of that stuff, I might recommend that you have a look at the first book in my high intensity guitar technique series. That'll clear all of those things up for you. So if you're into your pentatonics and everything though, one of the problems that guitar players face with this is they get fed up with being stuck in a boxy shape, and obviously as well most people will be familiar with the fact that there's 5 shapes of that scale that you can play across the neck. Okay, if you're not familiar with that, again, all of the answers for that sort of thing are in my first book, High Intensity Guitar Technique, Book 1. But if you're comfortable with all of that stuff and you want to look at how you can play more interesting sounds, well, one thing that I do with my scale pyramid methodology is look at how you can extract different pentatonics from within a modal scale. Now, there isn't going to be time in a video like this to go through the whole thing because the video would be really long. But effectively, the way that I look at my scale pyramid is if you've got a 7-note diatonic scale, okay, when you're taking pentatonic scales out of it, you're just extracting 5 notes at a time from within that scale. Now, the minor pentatonic scale has a formula. It's 1, or root note, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. Now if we look at just taking that as a formula in terms of, forget about the flat 3 and stuff like that, what we'll just do is call it 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. So they're the 5 notes we're extracting. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. Now if you're aware of how modes work at all, we are basically looking at using A Dorian over this chord. Now the notes of A Dorian, well, A Dorian is the second mode in the key of G major, okay? If you're watching this at all and you're thinking, blimey, this is heavy and we're going through this really, really quickly, you definitely need to check out my High Intensity Guitar Techniques series and also the bundled Cutting Edge Guitar Masterclass that goes along with it. It will clear up a load of these things. But hang tight just for now. So, we're using A Dorian, second mode of G major. The notes of G major are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Back to our G root note, okay? What I want to do to find some clever, creative modal pentatonics is I want to take that formula of 1, 3, 4, 5, 7 relative to what we did on an A note, and I'm going to apply that to every note in the scale. So what we're going to extract, as I say, is that formula, the 1, the 3, the 4, the 5 and the 7, diatonically, that means belonging to one key, from every note of the scale. Okay, so if I do that on a G, I get this. What that actually gives me is the sound of something that we call the G Ionian pentatonic, modal pentatonics, okay? You can play that in a sort of boxy shape that goes all the way across the fretboard. It will look like this. And if you was to play that against that A minor 11 chord, it sounds like this. Just at the end there, I've resolved it back to my A root note. Okay, so again, if I was applying that formula, well, we know that I'd get a standard A minor pentatonic. If I do it from a B, so play a 1, 3, 5, 7 diatonically from within the scale, I get this, which is B minor pentatonic, and I can play that against my A minor 11 chord, and it will sound like this. If I do it from C, what I'll get is this. Which is technically a Lydian pentatonic, okay? Against the A minor 11, it sounds like this. I'm always resolving these things back to the A because that's the chord that I'm aiming to play these things over, okay? If I do the same thing again from D, I'll get D Mixolydian Pentatonic. It sounds like this. Anyone who's a fan of Eric Johnson might recognise that sound. Again, if I do it on an E, I'm going to get E minor pentatonic, standard minor. If I do it from F sharp, I'm going to get a Locrian pentatonic. So what this will be relative to the F sharp. I've got 1, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 7, root. So it's basically a blues scale, but without the natural fifth. And then you go back up to your G. So by using that extraction method, you've now got 7 different pentatonic scale types that you could use over that A minor 11 chord. Oh, and guess what? Because they're a 5-note scale, there are 5 shapes of each one of these that go up and down the fretboard, okay? There's a lot of work in learning them, but once you've learned them, you will definitely be breaking out of any of this, oh, I'm stuck in the boring minor pentatonic swamp that you probably find yourself in and think that you want to change. So something else to talk to you about with that stuff, guys, I actually have a tutorial up at Cutting Edge Guitar that's just called Cutting Edge Guitar Scales. What I've done, I've actually written up all of the scale diagrams for, I think it's 86 guitar scales. When I say guitar scales, they're musical scales, right? But I've just written them up in fretboard diagrams so that you can apply them full fretboard. So check out that tutorial as well, because I've written up all of these different pentatonics in lots of different places all over the neck. Just make it easier for you to learn rather than having to get some scale diagram papers and write all this stuff out yourself. I've basically done the work for you. So one final thing that I want to talk to you about before I leave you today, guys, is a couple of different ways that you can use pentatonic scales. Well, I might just do one particular way actually, otherwise the video will be really long. So, most people play pentatonic scales like this in boxy shapes, and that works great for most rock guitar and blues guitar and stuff, but it can get a bit tired after a while, a bit boring, and you feel like you're stuck in these shapes. You get asked questions all the time as a guitar teacher: how do I break out of the boxes? Well, one way to do this, which is really quite exciting, if you push two box shapes together, you will end up with 3 notes per string pentatonics. So if I do that in the position 4-5 area for A minor, I'm talking about caged system here, it looks like this. So I've got a totally new fingering now. What you'll notice as I'm doing it though, I'm getting this doubling up effect of notes. So I'm playing basically an A here and here. Some people really like that effect. I mean, Alan Holdsworth used to like the doubling up. That sort of stuff. It sounds really smooth when you do it with all that legato thing and all that stuff. But a cool way to do it if you want to eliminate that doubling up thing is you can use string skipping. So instead of going immediately to the next string, you skip a string like this. Sorry, I'll do that again. And that has a really cool effect, especially when you speed it up, a bit like this. I'm going to use like a quintuplet-y type pattern on it as well. By quintuplets I'm using this rolling groups of 5 thing, but I don't want to make the video too long, so I won't properly go into all of that now. But if you want to check out a whole plethora of techniques for being able to apply these things, the High Intensity Guitar Technique series that you can see behind me over there has an absolute ton of that sort of stuff in it. There's about 500 examples in that book series, so you'll be well covered for things to do. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I hope you found it really helpful, really useful. Drop me a line in the comments, and make sure you subscribe, because in the next video I'm going to be looking at how to use arpeggios creatively to help you have better guitar solos. Okay guys, thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.